Hey guys, welcome to the next video on how I make my fingerboard decks. Today's video I'm going to be shaping this deck. So what we're going to be using is the shaper. Comes with a top and a bottom piece like that. So there's your bottom, it's got the pins in there, so what we're going to do, they go through the top and bottom holes on the blank. So we're just going to pop that on there like that, so it goes through the holes like that. And next up, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to roughly cut around it to start with, and then we'll go from there. So let's get into the workshop and get going on that. Okay guys, so that's that done. I just roughly cut it. As you can see, I've marked the nose and where the tail is before I cut that, just so I know where to cut it to when I'm cutting these angles off here and that. So that's basically a rough cut. So now I'm going to put it back on the shaper like so, and then we're going to get it onto the onto my little sanding machine here. So let's swing this camera around and I'll show you what it is. Right, okay, so basically guys, I've got one of these little mini lathes. You can pick these up on like eBay, Amazon quite cheaply. They're pretty good little things, to be honest. And in it I have a sanding disc like this with 100 grit sandpaper on. Now, to save going, and sanding your shaper, which you don't want to be doing because you're just going to end up wearing it down and you're going to make it smaller and it's going to become uneven and things like that. So what I've done here, I've placed this barrier piece of wood here. Now what this does is that stops the shaper going up against the sanding disc. It literally stops a millimetre. I've stopped it a millimetre further forward from the sanding disc so that the shaper doesn't touch it. Now what this also means is with a 32mm shaper means you're going to get a 34mm wide deck. So I'll bear that in mind. So for say a 36mm wide deck, I've got a 34mm wide shaper. So it will go like that. A 30mm wide shaper will give you a 32mm wide deck. So that's the way I do it, and it just keeps that sanding disc away from your shaper to prevent any damage to it. So let's get into the shaping part. Right, so there we are guys, that's all sanded round, all into shape. It's looking pretty nice. I think it's got a red centre ply on this one. Don't know if you can make that out on the video, but this is looking pretty good. So we'll just going to check this for width for a minute. My calipers, just check where that's at. That's sitting about just shy of 30, just over 34 at the moment, so I'm going to go a little bit more with it. And yeah, and then we'll start on the nose and the tail, getting those squared off. I'll tell you about that in a moment. Okay, so we're dead on 34 now, 34mm wide. So now what we've got to do, as you can see on the nose and the tail, it's at an angle now. Obviously it's been sitting on the shaper like this, so you end up with an angle. Now you want to square this off before we start rounding the edges. because otherwise you're going to get a funny shape on the nose and the tail. So we need to square those off. So how we do that, we have to stick it on here like this, so the nose and the tail are flat. So they're flat against there, so the board's up at an angle, and then we square these off. So we'll crack on with that. Right then guys, so we've got our deck now. It's all squared up on the edges. See that? It's all squared off on there. All the edges are all nicely rough. So we've now got a rough shape, all roughly cut. So next step will be sanding and rounding the edges. Now I think I'm going to go through that on a different video because that's going to be a bit of a process as well. So we'll save that for the next one. So I hope you've enjoyed this video guys. Again, don't forget to subscribe. It really does help me out. And yeah, we will see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.